YouTube, man? Y'all sure already know who it is, man. It's your boy Rex HTX, man. I'm gonna show y'all from a complete noob how to edit a video within Sony Vegas from start to finish. So whenever you open up Sony Vegas for the first time, you're going to see this. You're going to see a blank project that has 3 segments. There's a project media bin, there's going to be a track for all your videos and audio tracks, and you got to have project preview window right here. The project media bin, this is anything that you import within your video. This can include sound effects, images, or videos. The timeline is everything that you're going to place within the project. Anything that's in the media bin you want to put onto the track to start editing will go right here. This is the timeline. And the preview window, this is anywhere that your cursor is. Anything that is on your cursor. This could be an image, this could be a sound effect or whatever, but anything visual will pop up right here in your preview window. Now when you start a new project, obviously you may end up at this blank segment, or if you want to start something new, you click the new button right here. You're going to see this little window that pops up right here. These are your project settings, and if you want to access them again, you click this little settings icon right here. Now these are your project settings. Honestly, I've used Sony Vegas for 5 to 6 years. You don't need to touch anything in the audio, rulers, summary, or audio CD at all. Anything that needs to be changed is within the audio tab on your project properties. Now I'm assuming y'all are editing YouTube videos, so obviously you want this width to be 1920, you want the height to be 1080. Everything else you don't need to touch up here. Field order, keep it at none. Pixel aspect ratio, you definitely want to keep this at 1. You definitely want to keep this at 1. Output rotation, I don't know why you would need this or 360 output. The next thing is frame rate. Now this is entirely up to you, but for those y'all that are YouTubers, obviously you're familiar with the 2 frame rates, 30 and 60 FPS. They're not exactly 30 and 60, they're 29.97. This is essentially 30 FPS. You have 59.9, which essentially is 60 FPS. You don't need to go within here and select this whole thing and type 60.00. No, 59 is 60. Trust me, this is what I've been editing it for years. This is the exact thing. Obviously, pixel format, keep it at 8-bit. Full resolution rendering quality, keep this at best and nothing less. And nothing less. Motion blur, Gaussian. Gaussian is the best type of blur I've used, honestly. De-interlace method, this is not something you ever need to touch. Resample mode. So essentially, all resample mode is Sony Vegas' way of trying to make your video look smoother. Let's say, for example, you have 2 frames. One frame you're like this and the other frame you're like this. Sony Vegas may feel that that's not smooth enough. Let's add another frame in between to make it smoother. So instead of this, it's going to add a little fuzzy frame in the middle right here, and then it's going to show this. So essentially it's sort of adding more frames onto your video in an attempt to make the video look smoother. This essentially is just going to make it seem like you're seeing double on a fucking video. Your project preview window is going to make you look like you're drunk as hell. It is not something I would ever recommend. Honestly, 100% disable it every single time. Now, one thing to make your life a lot easier is that you want to click start all new projects with this setting. You only need to click this once and one time only. It may not be checked, but trust me, you click it once, you never have to click it again. You click apply, you click OK, and boom, that's it. Now let's say you want to start throwing shit in the clip. All right, you want to start throwing shit in the project. You want to start throwing stuff in here. Click import media. Click import media. Whenever you find the clip you want to use, all you got to do is double click on said clip. You double click on the clip, and boom, now it's in your project media bin. Everything in your media bin is everything that you've imported within this project. Now obviously, if you want to put this on the timeline, you click and you drag it onto the timeline as is. Whenever you get this message, do you want to set your project's video settings to match this? No. Always click no, because you don't know what in the hell you might be importing. You don't know the dimensions on it, you don't know the frame rate on it, you don't know the bit rate on it, you don't know the resample mode on it. Always click no. This is like saying, do I want anybody who steps into my house to have a house key? No, the hell you don't, because you don't know what they're gonna do with it. You don't know where they came from. You don't know anything about them. So always click no. I want to treat every single thing on here like a guest. Treat them all like a guest. Once you have it dragged onto the timeline, it's going to look like this. Each video comes with a video track and an audio track, just because that's how videos are. It obviously has a visual that you can see, but it has audio as well. Now, one thing a lot of people are going to notice is your Sony Vegas is going to look like a lot like this. For example, let's say, for example, I click this button that says scale video to fit preview window. Your whole preview window is just going to fill up with this setting. So when you fill it up, the video quality is going to look dog shit. But the point I'm trying to make is it looks bad right here. This is a preview window. Your actual project will not look like this, so don't trip, don't be scared. Trust me, at the end of the video, the quality will be nice and crispy and beautiful and stuff like that. So look, obviously this is a project preview window. You want to make this as low quality as possible. You may think, I want to click here, which by the way, to change it right here, you click preview up here, you click preview down here, you click full to make it the full resolution of the project settings. So it looks nice and dandy right here. You're thinking this is a good thing, right? Wrong. The more effects you start adding onto said video tracks or audio tracks, the more CPU usage it will take to show you how a specific clip looks with those effects. Because keep in mind, you're not editing the actual file, you're sort of adding a effect to the reference of said clip. So it has to render how that video looks with said clips you add on top of it, which is going to take a lot more RAM and CPU usage. So there's no point of having your processor on freaking 100% and at 90 degrees and your RAM maxed out when you're just trying to see how one effect looks. So you want to definitely click this little drop down, click preview, and click it on auto. Yes, it's fuzzy and it's laggy and it's pixelated, but guess what? It's only a preview and it's not that serious. I usually keep this setting unchecked, scale video to fit preview window, because from this distance, everything looks fine to me. Now, one thing I do want to show when it comes to Sony Vegas, because a lot of people don't actually talk about this, is loop regions. Loop regions is exactly what it is, a region that loops over and over again. Let's say, for example, I'm bored and I want this exact part to keep playing over and over again. I come on my keyboard. Wow, that did not sound right. Somewhere on the timeline, I click and hold and I select a certain part. You let go whenever you're satisfied, and then that didn't sound right either. And then you click space, and whenever you click space,
gas is closing in.
It plays that specific part over and over again. See, it stopped automatically at the end right there. This loop region will come in handy later on when it comes to rendering your actual video, but this is essentially what loop regions are. Now let's say, for example, I have a clip right here. Okay, that's cool, that's fine and dandy, but I want a certain little, I want something else on top of it. Let's say, for example, I want an image on top of it. This is what you do, because obviously you can't edit everything on one video track because you'd lose your mind, and Sony Vegas doesn't even allow you to do that. That is not what Sony Vegas was made for. In order to add something on top of that in another video track, this is how you add other video tracks. You click the space down here, you right click, click insert video track, and boom, you got another video track. Now let's say, for example, I want to put an image in here, right? That's all you got to do. Click the import media button, go to your hard drive or wherever you want to select certain things from. You click on something that's like a PNG image like this, double click it, and boom, you got an image on, you got an image within your project. All right, obviously in order to put it on there, you click and drag, you drop it on there, and boom, right there. All this essentially is what I put on here are CinemaScope crop lines. This is an image I got from Google. Like, whenever you see things in movies or you see a YouTube video and they add these lines, this is usually to emphasize that something intense is about to happen. One thing that's weird, and this is something that you want to do with all your clips that you have, is this thing called clip editing. Obviously, when I added this thing in off the rip, this thing was only 5 seconds long. Exactly 5 seconds long. But what if I want this thing to last all the way to the end, exactly when this clip ends? This is what you do. Essentially, you take your mouse and you hover over the end of it, and the end of every single track will have this thing pop up called trim event end. This is essentially trimming it. Essentially, you want to make it lower. If you push it to the left, you have less. You push to the right, you have more. Since it's an image and no image has no start or stop point because it's a static image, it's not dynamic, you can click and drag it however you want to. You make it as long as you want to, you make it a minute, you literally make this a millisecond if you want to, but it's entirely up to you. But all you want to do in order to change it is you want to hover over it until this icon pops up. This icon has to pop up in order for it to work. You click and drag, you go back and forth, and then boom, that's it. Now, one thing that helps a lot with video editing and simply just knowing where certain things are within your project is this thing called markers. Markers are essentially this thing, let's say, for example, they come wherever exactly your cursor is. If I want my cursor at the beginning and I want to mark right here, you click at the beginning and put your cursor right there, and you click this handy button on your keyboard called M. You click the M key and now you have this, boom, which is a number 1. And the space pops up because if you want to name your marker, let's say, for example, I want to name this start, then this is the start of the video. And if I want this to be the end, I click right here at the end, click where my cursor is, I click M on my keyboard, and I type in within the blinking text box, I click end. Press enter to finish, and boom, now you have 2 markers. These markers come in handy if anybody ever sees my timelines. These timelines are filled with markers because I need to know where certain edits are at. Let's say, for example, I want to go back into the project and change something. I'll look in and I'm like, oh, that's where that effect was. I change it up and I'm like, boom, that's it. Let's say, for example, I want something about this video to be changed right at this point. I want to split this clip up into 2. Obviously, all you want to do is you want to press S on your keyboard, and S essentially splits the clip. Any splitting happens exactly where your cursor is. Always remember that. So if I want the middle part to be split, I don't just press S and it automatically happens. You got to click where you want it to be split at. You press S on your keyboard and boom, that's it. One little neat thing you need to know, if you click the space down here, right, and you press S, it splits everything down, everything across the project at that specific cursor. But let's say, for example, I don't want this to be split. I only want this to be split. Control Z is undo, which is your best freaking friend right now. You want to click and select. You know it's selected because you see this yellow shit around it. You press S on your keyboard and it only splits that specific clip. But if you want everything to be split, deselect that clip, S, boom, that's it. It splits everything that is on that track right there within that project. But say, for example, I want this part to be split, right? I want this part specifically to be in slow motion, right? This is what you do. If you want to add slow-mo, you want to time stretch, which is the more, the official terminology for it. You want to time stretch or time shrink it, right? You hover over, you make your mouse, you hover over the end of it where it says trim event end, and you hold the control on your keyboard, and now you see this. Time stretch. So time stretch is essentially slowing down, speeding up. Essentially, that's all it is. So stretching is stretching it, which is stretching the length of it. When you stretch something, it gets longer. When you shrink it, it's shrunk and you shorten the length of it. So let's say, for example, I want this specific part to be shrunk, right? I want this to be shrunk. You hold control on your keyboard. You have to make sure this thing pops up. You hold control on with your mouse. You click and drag. It's clicking and dragging to the right obviously makes it stretch, obviously making the clip longer. If you drag it to the left some more, it's obviously going to speed up the clip. Let's say, for example, I put it all the way right here. Watch this. The clip along with the audio is fast forwarded. But say, for example, I don't want that. I don't like that for some reason, right? Something about that, you know, I don't like it. You know what I'm saying? I don't like that stuff, right? If you want it to be longer, for example, right? Or I want this to be like some slow motion effect right here. You do the same thing. Make sure that icon pops up, trim event, and you hold control to time stretch it. You time stretch it to the right, and now it's time stretched. The way you can tell whether it's time stretched or time shrunk with this little zigzag pattern and stuff like that, look at the bottom right here, 60.9%. Anything below 100% is stretched, meaning it's slowed down. Anything above 100% is sped up. Look at it like velocity. You're going 60 miles per hour. Obviously, 60 is slower than 100 miles per hour, and 200 is higher than, a lot faster than 100 miles per hour. Look at it like velocity. Now, let's say, for example, there's a certain part of the clip. Let's say you shit on somebody in the war zone and you want it to zoom in at a specific point, all right? This is what you do. If you want something to only be at a specific point, right? If you want a certain segment to be edited, I highly recommend splitting it off from everything else. That way your edits only affect that specific segment and not the whole thing. So let's say, for example, I want to zoom in on this guy right here when he gets throwing knife right here. This is what you want to do. You want to click this little button right here that says pan event crop. When you click that button, right, you have this little window that pops up. This is the video event effects window that pops up. Now you're gonna see this thing. Obviously, this is your whole project, and you get this little dotted line around here. This dotted line allows you to zoom in or out on said specific clip. You click and you drag one of these rectangles, and when you drag it in, you're zooming in. When you drag it out, you're zooming out. Just know whenever you see these black bars at the left side or the right side or at the top, if they're at the top in this case, it's because I have the cinema scope crop line still. Let's say, for example, I split the crop lines and not delete it. You know, to delete something, you make sure it's selected, you click delete. So let's say, for example, I only want this specific part to pop up. Why are these black bars showing up? These black bars are showing up because you're making a zoom out past beyond the dimensions of said specific clip. You definitely don't want to do this because this honestly just looks weird unless you're doing this for a specific edit and you know what you're doing. But obviously you want to click on one of the rectangles or one of the corners of the rectangle. You want to zoom in. When you zoom in, this is zooming in, and it starts at the beginning of the clip. So once you do this and you press play, obviously it zoomed in exactly where the clip started. Something that's a key tip: if you only want something, if you only want a specific zoom effect to start at the beginning, if you don't want it to progress into that effect, you make sure you click the beginning of said clip, you click the pan and crop tool, and you make the effect there. Let's say I want this certain effect, I want the zoom effect to start at the beginning, but I started at the middle. This little diamond pops up right here. This is a keyframe. A keyframe is essentially sort of like a checkpoint, because if you have a keyframe right here, it leans into the effect and it looks like this.
Gas is closing in.
Oh, but I wanted my effect to start at the beginning. No, what Sony Vegas sees is you don't want that effect to start at the beginning, you want to start later on. So we're gonna transition into that. No, I want the effect to start right here at the beginning, so you make sure it starts at the beginning and it lasts the rest of the clip. And let's say you do that by accident, you come right here, you click the little diamond, you click delete. Life's better. Now let's say, for example, I'm like, okay, I don't want the little zoom effect, forget the zoom effect. I want a black and white effect right here, okay? This is what you do. So now we're adding effects onto our videos. So whenever you come right here, you're going to see these little tabs right here. You're going to see the first one is Project Media. You're going to see Explorer, which is your file explorer, everything that's on your computer. You're going to see transitions, and you're going to see video effects. Now, video effects obviously is the effects that you can add onto a video, because like I said, these are all the effects that you have here. Everything that has a normal name, like min and max, median, mask generator, these are all default and come with Sony Vegas. But if you see something like BCC and all this S underscore stuff, these are all the plugin effects that I have. I have like a lot of plugin effects, like a lot. I mean a lot. I mean a lot of effects. Well, let's say for example I want to add a simple black and white. All right, you come down and it's all in alphabetical order by default. So black and white's right here. Obviously it's above C. So you come right here and you have these effects. This is the effect whenever you select it. So you have to click on it first, and then it shows the effects. By default, with anything that comes off rip with Sony Vegas, it may or may not come with specific presets. So you have a 25% black and white, you have a 50% black and white, you have a 75% black and white, and then you got the 100%. The 100% is the same thing as the default, by the way, I'm just saying. So let's say for example I want to add this black and white effect to that clip at the end. You click and you drag on the effect, click and drag, and you make sure it's hover over the effect. You know it's gonna work when you see your little mouse cursor pop back up and you see the little stacked thing with the plus icon on it. You let go. Oh, you have to make sure it's on the video track, by the way, because this is a video effect, not an audio effect. You want to drag and drop it down there, and then boom, that's it. By the way, in this window as well, you can also change the pan and crop as well. The pan and crop's right there. Let's say for example I don't want this thing to be at 100%. You drag and you drop it a bit, that's at 50%. That's not enough. That's good enough. By the way, look at this number like a percentage. This is 84.4%. This is 55.1%. This is 100%. Obviously, you can add effects to not only just the videos as well. Let's say, for example, I want to add an effect to the audio part of my video. Simple as that. You click this effects button, and boom, it shows all when you click all, and it shows all the video effects you can add. There's a bunch of these you can add. You can add reverbs, you can add a pitch shift, which for example, let me show y'all this. The pitch shift is obviously a pitch. If you have a high pitch, you have a high pitch voice. You have a high pitch voice like this. When you have a deep voice, or when you want to lower the pitch, you have a lower pitch like this, or how I basically sound, by the way. That's basically how I sound, by the way. You click OK, boom, that's it. And you got all this stuff in Japanese and shit like that, which looks like Japanese to y'all because you've never seen this shit before. The one thing you want to click is preserve duration, semitones to shift pitch. You shift the pitch down, and you sound like this.
Gas is closing in.
No. See, I lower the pitch, I sound deeper. If I raise it, which may God bless your eardrums.
Gas is closing in.
Nah, see, I raise the pitch. Whenever it's negative, it's lower. When it's positive, it's higher. But that's how you have audio effects on it as well. Now also, let's say for example you want to add a sound effect as well. Let's say I want a sound effect right here. Let's take this out, by the way, before I lose my brain cells. I want to add a sound effect right here, right? I want to add a sound effect right here. You right click in the space below, click insert audio track, and you want to go back to the project media bin right here on the project media tab, and you click import media. So let's say for example I want a specific sound effect that shows the boom swoosh sound effect. Let's say I double click this, and boom, I double clicked an MP3 file, which by the way, MP3 file is like an MP3 player, only play audio. So in order to take this, you have to click and drag, you have to drop it on an audio track as such. Boom, that's it. And like I said, you click the effects button to add any effects on it. So like I said, for example, if I want this effect to happen right here, when you press play, this is what happens. The effect pops up. Now let's say, for example, I don't like this. I don't like it at all. Click it, delete it. I want this part of the video to end, right? But I don't want it to be an abrupt ending. I want it to be like a smooth ending. I want it to fade out. I want the video to slowly disappear. This is something that you see a lot of things with movies. Whenever a movie scene is about to end, you see it start fading into black, and you see the audio start to fade out. So what you want to do is, with every single thing in Sony Vegas, at the end of it and the start, you see these little triangles at the start and the stop. These little triangles on video tracks, they're blue. On audio tracks, they start orange and they turn light blue. You have to put your mouse cursor directly over it, which is kind of tricky sometimes, but you see this icon. This icon says fade in offset. Now essentially this is fade in offset. It's going to fade in. You click and hold and it shows the length of your fade in effect. So this is like 20 something milliseconds. This is a whole second. So when you start it right here, it starts black. But when it starts black, guess what? It fades in. Now let's say, for example, I don't like the fact that it goes from normal, and then it fades in. It looks stupid to me, which I agree. It looks pretty stupid. I want it to fade out. So like I said, you want to hover over this little triangle at the end right here. You make sure it says fade out offset this time. You click and you drag to adjust the length of it. The same thing right here. Click and you hover over the little triangle at the corner right here. You click and drag to make sure the icon pops up. You have to make sure the icon pops up in order for it to work. And then start the beginning and make sure you press play. And now, the audio and the video both fade out at the end. Now let's say, for context of the video, I want to add more emphasis on when I said, I think I said it right here. I want more emphasis when I said nah. So here we're gonna do this. I want to press M on my keyboard, put a marker, press, let's call it nah. So when we call it that, I want text right here to pop up when I say nah on the clip. So all you have to do is you want to click somewhere within an empty space within the video track. You want to right click and click insert text media, and this media generator window pops up right here. Let's say, for example, I don't like the font of this text at all. If I don't like the font of this text at all, you click and you select all the text, as I just did, and you click right here and you click this little drop down and you change the font of all your text. You can scroll through all these damn fonts. I mean, it's a bunch of fonts, stuff like that. When you download new styles and new fonts, they obviously will pop up right here. So let's do Call of Duty, right? I like this Call of Duty text right here, but I want it to have an outline as well. There's an outline tab. You click it, you select it, you increase the size of it. By the way, I would recommend, if you're doing an outline, make it somewhere between 6 and 8. No bigger than 8. So I want to make it 7.3 because it's between that. You click this little outline color and make sure from RGB you put it to HSV. The reason why is because I want to put a black outline. Obviously you want to click and drag this little circle right here. You want to click it all the way to down to black, and boom, that's it. Also, you can add things like a drop shadow. You can add drop shadow. The drop shadow pops up. Boom, that's the drop shadow as is. Now I want to change the text. All you gotta do is select it, type within the little window. Let's type nah. Let's say, for example, this text is too big. I don't like the size of this text, right? You're gonna take your mouse, right? You're gonna hover over within the project preview tab, the little project preview window right here. You hover over it and you click these little squares at each corner, and you're able to change the size. Change the size wherever you want to. This is in perspective of how the actual video looks, and boom, that's it. You wanna know the problem with it being right here? It's not in the center of the video. So how do I put it to where it's in the center of the video each and every time? Now within this little media generator window, you see this thing called location, right? It says 0.59, backspace, and you make the location coordinates, because this is like a coordinates. It's like a longitude and latitude. You put both of these to 0.5. So from 0.11 to 0.5. And when you do that, it's perfectly in the center of your screen. Now exporting is very simple. You click this button right here that says render as, you click it, and now it looks pretty to me. It looks pretty when I do it, but when you do it for the first time, it's gonna look like this. It will look like this. If you're rendering a video for YouTube, the best settings or the best formats you want to use are Magic's AVC/AAC. Now when you click it, you're always gonna have all these presets by default. You're gonna have all these templates by default. You're not gonna know what any of these mean. You're gonna see internet 4K, blah blah blah. You're gonna see HD 1080p. You're gonna see 720. You're gonna see Blu-ray 1080. I would recommend personally you do internet 1080 59.94, aka 60 FPS. Now one thing y'all gotta realize is if you have a graphics card, right, graphics cards help a lot with rendering. They just help a lot more with rendering. Anything that's a GPU accelerated effect will obviously render a lot faster if your GPU kicks in as an encoder. So if you see anything that says NVIDIA NVENC, this means that your NVIDIA graphics card is going to be used as an encoder. You're going to want to click one of these if you have an NVIDIA graphics card, and you're going to click Customize Template. Now when you click Customize Template, it's basically like the project settings before. You want to keep everything the same. You want to make sure your dimensions on your render settings and your project settings are usually the same. So obviously you want to make sure the frame size is the same, which is 1080. Profile, keep this to main, don't change it at all. Frame rate, I want this at 60 FPS. You can click the drop down arrow and you got 29.9, which is 30 FPS. You got 50, you got 25, you got 24, entirely based off of preference. And you got pixel aspect ratio, definitely keep this to 1. The field order, definitely keep this to none. Now the next thing, variable bitrate. Now the thing with variable bitrate, this essentially is the data within your video. More data within the video means a better quality video, aka your video is going to look better. But obviously, more data means what? More things being put into the video, which means it's going to put more stress on your computer. Now, my personal recommendation is 50 million for both of these, regardless. I don't care if your PC runs off of water. I don't care if your PC runs off of lemon juice. Nigga, put this to 50 million for both. 50 million is that sweet spot, because at one point, let's just be honest, somebody's gonna try, and some jackass is gonna put this to 300 million. Their PC is gonna explode, and they're gonna come back to me and say, Ranks, you didn't tell me my PC was gonna explode with the more I increase my bitrate. Congratulations. At one point, this starts to plateau. The quality starts to increase based off of your bitrate, but then at one point, it stops making a damn difference. This, honestly, for 50 million for both of these, was honestly the one where I realized it's honestly the maximum amount of quality I can get, but it also works well with my PC, and anything past like 70 million looks exactly the same to me. So obviously you want to put this at 50 million, obviously, and like I said, for encode mode, I have an NVIDIA graphics card, so put this at NV encoder. Preset, definitely put this to high quality because we want the best quality possible. For RC mode, definitely put this to CBR, high quality, because you want the same bit rate throughout the entire video. You don't want it to be fluctuating up and down and stuff. Even though we have variable bitrate on, I put both of them to 50 million. That way it stays the same throughout the whole video. Obviously, that's it for the video section. Obviously, there's other tabs as well. There's the audio tab, which you definitely want to keep this at 48,192 for the bitrate. You don't need to change the audio that much. If you leave it as is, you should be perfectly fine, okay? Next part for system, this is a bunch of gibberish I never ever touched. Project, oh, this is the best part. The video rendering quality, you want to put this at best and nothing else. Nothing less, gotta put this at best. Stereoscopic 3D mode and color space, leave those alone. Those things at default are perfectly fine for you. But let's say, for example, I want these render settings and I can't remember all these render settings, and I want these to be the same every single time. What do? You come up here, you come up to template, and you want to name it some gibberish like that, and you want to click the save button right here. Now, for the sake of this video, I already have presets. So when you click this drop down arrow, the drop down arrow obviously reveals all the normal templates that come by default with Sony Vegas. But down here, it shows all the ones that you have saved. So let's say, for example, I click this one that says 1080 60 3.0. That's all the things I said before. Profile at main, 60 FPS, none, 1.0, 50 million for both of them, NV encoder, obviously all that stuff because I have this preset saved. Now when you click save on your new preset, guess what's gonna happen? It's gonna pop up with a name down here somewhere, like this, for example. 2K 60 FPS is gonna show up exactly like how it does like this. In order to make your life easier, click the star. When you click the star, let's do this right here, right? You click the star right here, right? It's gonna show up with no star, but when you click the star, it shows a pink, and you click this button right here, you click show favorites only, and the only thing that pops up is the favorited templates. Now trust me, your favorited templates are gonna look a lot less frightening than seeing this every time you try rendering a video. Trust me, this frightens me. This is scary as hell. Get me away from this shit. But anyways, obviously once you pick the exact render settings you want to choose, the 1080 60 FPS 3.0 is the one I use for pretty much all of my YouTube videos, unless it's like a certain video that I want in a better quality, then I use 1440. But for the sake of the video and keeping it simple, let's do 1080p with all my settings. So when you have all the settings satisfied, you choose the folder where you want it to be exported to. You name it some gibberish like this. I think I just fucked up. I clicked something I wasn't supposed to click. I can't even lie to you. You click render. Once you click render, boom, the video starts rendering as is. Obviously, you want to wait until this thing finishes rendering, and then once it finishes rendering, by the way, rendering speeds are affected entirely off of two things: your graphics card and your processor. If you have a better processor with more cores, it's able to work a lot faster, and if you have a graphics card as an encoder, it encodes a lot faster as well. So make sure you have a good processor and a good graphics card. Both of those things in combination make the video already done rendering. The video, no bullshit, is 22 seconds and it took 19 seconds to render. That's what I mean. I have a Ryzen 9 and a 3060, which is a pretty beefed up processor and a very good graphics card. But if you have something like an i3 and like a 1070, it might take like 40 seconds, honestly. And if you have anything below that, I wouldn't even recommend trying to render high resolution quality videos, because those things will put a lot of pressure on your computer and will put a lot of stress on your processor. I am speaking from experience. I have had to chalk a whole laptop because the processor was messed up. Now when the whole thing's rendered, now that you're all happy with how it looks, you click open and boom. They're not gonna expect me to be right here. Watch this. You have your edited video just like that.
Man, thought it was gonna.
By the way, if y'all don't know, by the way, you want to see where the effect kicks in. It kicks in right about here. So it kicks in right here. Watch this. When I press play, the black and white effect pops up, but then I say nah, and the text pops up right there. So boom, that is it for anybody who's a beginner with Sony Vegas. I hope you guys learned everything, and I hope you guys become the greatest content creators on the planet. Thanks to me, I want 10% of all your profits. I'm not fucking joking. But if you guys did learn something about Sony Vegas, make sure you guys smash the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you are new and you want more tutorials as far as Sony Vegas to become the best content creator you could possibly be. It is your boy Ranks, and we're out of here. Peace.